Help Save Our World Speak 56, Beyond the Age of Ignorance, the Transition Back to the Garden. Hello and welcome everyone to our 56th Help Save Our World online speakers meeting. Yay! Where we are changing the conversation to change our world. I am Dennis, the teacher of this quest for the truth, change and transformation. These meetings are designed to help save our world by empowering you to heal yourself so that you can empower and heal others, or empower others to heal themselves. So together we can create a happy, healthy, and sustainable future world for all life on planet Earth. So let's start with the introductions. When Kurt comes in, he can introduce himself as well. So let's begin with you, Alex.
Hi, I'm Alex. I'm here in South Africa. One of my purposes is to create the sustainable eco-villages for people to actually come and heal themselves, reconnect with nature, and to reconnect with others and find the love and peace that they long for. That is one of my purposes here.
Excellent. Thank you, Alex. Brendan, would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Brendan. I'm 25. I'm from South Africa. I've joined this movement to help save the world in terms of creating eco-villages and basically helping both Dennis, Alex, and everybody else involved to help bring people together in a love-based system instead of a fear and revengeful system.
Excellent, Brendan. Thank you so much. Kurt?
Great. Well, I'll just echo everything Brendan said, except my name is Kurt and I'm from South Florida. And yeah, as Brendan said, I'm here to contribute what I can to this forum that we have. As one of the many ways that I look to help save our world by contributing what I think is purposeful and mindful and sustainable efforts and actions.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Kurt. So now, before we begin with going on to this next section, which is like, to me, it's the culmination. It's like we're putting everything together. So before we go on to that section, there were certain things that about last week's topic on time, which I felt are so important for us to revisit. So every physical manifestation in our universe has its own perceived timeline. Every physical planet, star, galaxy can be thought of as having its own timeline or life cycle, its process of formation to eventual disintegration. From the coinciding energies and the beginnings of the vortex of creating it to the final moments of its releasing its last remaining energy. Formation from energy to gases to gravity to bombardment. You know, as gravity increases, all of these asteroids and everything get pulled in and it grows to the forming of this rotating ball, to greater and greater density, to its orbit that it forms around its sun, to its existence as this living, ultimate, incredible being, and then ultimately to its disintegration back to energy and its perceived whole life cycle. Every planet or moon has its own years, seasons, time, days, energy, patterns. I was looking at I wonder if I could share this. Mercury, actually its rotation speed is 58.6 days for it to turn in one revolution, all right? But its revolution period around the actual sun takes 87.97 days, and Venus, it takes 243 days for its spin, and 224 days, 25 days for it to orbit the sun. Then, of course, the Earth is 365 days, and of course, 0.99, in other words, not the perfect rotational speed. But anyway, so Mars then is about 1.3 days, 0.03 days for it to actually do its rotation. It's very similar to ours, but it takes 1.88 years. So it's almost like 2 years for it to go around the sun. Then Jupiter, it's like 0.41 days for it to spin once, which is pretty fast for its size. And of course, it takes 11.86 years, I mean, nearly 12 years for it to circle the sun. Saturn, very fast rotation, and then of course 29.46 years for it to orbit the sun. Uranus, it's like 0.72 days for it to rotate, and 84.01 years. That's a long time for it to go around the sun. And Neptune, pretty fast, it's like 0.67 days for it to spin, and then 164.79 years. Like, that's a long time to rotate around the sun. And then Pluto, it's slower than the other ones. It's like 6.39 days, and it's not as big as the other gas planets. Yeah, so it's interesting why it is like that. But then it takes 249 years for it to circle the sun once. Now, if you think of us as humans on this planet, we are spinning around the sun, and we have like 1 year is one orbit of the sun, and we have our seasons and our cycles, and everything is related to our particular movement. Can you see that every reality that you are in, your time base, your energy, the nature of your planet, everything varies according to where you are in to the celestial bodies that you're on. So it's really more, to your time is more about relative movement than anything else. We as humans are our reality within it. And even when we experience time relative to our location on the planet and our perception of it, we have life cycles relative to our biology of this planet, the energy of this planet, the health, the position on the planet, everything. It affects the amount of time that we will exist in our life cycles. The galactic flows of physical celestial bodies can be thought of as having their own timelines. It's like from the formation of the gas of, say, Earth, and then the initial bombardment, and then the formation of the planet. There's this like geological from one stage it's purely energy and gases and so on, but it eventually becomes rock, and therefore the geological cycle, and eventually carries on, and maybe we reintegrate with the sun and become this incredible energy explosion outwards. But it is like a timeline, and we can see that in the geology locked up in the rocks of all of the shellfish and the microorganisms and the different eons of life on the planet. So we can see that like has a timeline, although at any one instant, if you took like an instant photograph of the existence of the planet at that one time, it would have collected all of this, what we would call memories of this creation as it's growing. So although time, future and past, and time right now doesn't exist, it's just, it does have this timeline type of memory. Okay, and then you think of the universal flows of physical bodies can be thought of as having timelines as well. Although, you know, I'm thinking of like galaxies moving and flowing and all like moving through the galaxy. They don't necessarily, as we have created this Big Bang theory, they don't necessarily flow on an absolutely linear timeline and in absolute sort of precise directions away from us. They all affect one another. The amount of energy radiating out must push planets and galaxies further apart, and the closeness will draw them together. You know, there are all of these variables. So it's not a linear progression as we have been convinced to believe in Big Bang theory. So the universal body's motions are far too complex for that. The fundamental nature of the bulk of the universe is space. So like just about everything out there, or the expanses of space, is space. Like this, relatively speaking, there's very little matter in the universe, or what we would call matter. The vibrational energy vibrating up and down, only creating the effects of sequential vibrational waves, which are perceived to have speed, vibrating outwards in all directions. Now, this is something I learned in the oceans when I was sitting there as a surfer. We'd be going up and down on the swell, like you go up and down, but you wouldn't go closer to the beach and you wouldn't go away from the beach. You'd just go up and down. And so you would have this constant feeling of just being picked up and put down. But the effect was that as this went down, this whatever was next to it would go up. And as that went up, whatever was next to it would go down. So it creates this sequential vibrational effect of forward motion. And if you think of light, those vibrations would be happening at such a fast rate that it would create this effect of forward motion at 186,000 miles per second. So it would have this effect of forward motion, whereas the universe itself wasn't going anywhere. It's just vibrating. So how does that affect our time? And then, of course, these vibrations tend to be able to, in most cases, pass straight through one another. You can drop a rock in the pond here and a rock in a pond here, and they just literally pass through one another like this, with no resistance or no effect on one another. Sometimes they will start to create vortices and create planets and stars and so on, but generally they just pass through one another. So there is no ability to determine the time if everything is just this complex motion of just energy going everywhere. So I spoke about that last week. These sequential vibrational effects might be perceived to have a time. However, the universal medium of space is not going anywhere at that speed. Although the effects of sequential vibrations of energy are creating the impression of traveling at the speed of light in every direction, outwards, of course, from what we would call the sources of energy, like the suns, and which would be the stars and supernovas and so on. So the medium of space in stillness is timeless. The vibrations of electromagnetic medium in space are relatively timeless. Only the effects, sequential nature, create the impression or effects of time and speed. We know that this is happening in all directions without beginnings or ends, because everything is composed of energy, vibrating energy, of space within space. And energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It can only change its form of expression or relative movement. This creates timelessness, because if everything's going in every direction, what would you subjectively choose to be your timeline? There wouldn't be, unless there were a human deciding. So forming realities create the cyclical manifestations of perceived time and or collective history of those formations. So far as we know, the conscious universe is endless, infinite, timeless, and endless, maybe even endless time. Consciousness is an aspect of the fundamental nature of the universe and is of timelessness and time, depending on how it's flowing and moving together. The natural wisdom of that creative force of the universe has always existed as the universe within the universe. Consciousness can be expressed anywhere in the universe without time, and we can call that action at a distance, and in totally different physical or energy realities as one with them. So we are conscious energy beings as one with our reality. As humans, we can change our reality. We change the nature of who we are. We have a small band of deviation from who and what we are before we cease to exist. So what I'm saying here is, if we go and we decide we're going to go and live on another planet somewhere, our chances of survival are negligible, really, because, like, for example, Mars is freezing cold. It doesn't have our atmosphere. It doesn't have our seasons and cycles and freely available water and all of the things that we are composed of. So we'll ultimately not survive very long on these various planets because of our adaptability, because of who we are, because we are of Mother Earth, Gaia, Pachamama, within her atmospheric womb of her air, her water, the earth, the energy, the temperatures, the pressures, the gravity, the food, the ecosystems, the cycles, the seasons, the time base. Unless we can adapt our reality to being very similar, or a very similar reality to our new reality, we will not survive very long. However, I can imagine that our children, if they're born into another reality, they would become composed of that reality instead of Mother Earth. However, if the changes are too extreme, they will not survive anyway, because they are essentially of us and we are of Mother Earth. Humans need to understand that they are composed of the flow of life of Mother Earth as one with Mother Earth's energy. When humans took the wrong fork on their journey of life and decided that they were above and separate from nature and could do as they pleased to nature for wealth and power, they lost their way. Now their survival and the survival of all life on Earth depends on them regaining their alignment with Mother Nature and with the flow and recreating the balances of nature. The questions you face are, do you wish life to go on this planet? Gaia, Mother Nature, Pachamama. Do you care about your children's future? Do you care for all life and humanity across the planet? Do you care for nature? Do you care for your Mother Earth? Do you care for all living beings past that made your life possible on this planet? Do you care for and wish to create a happy, healthy, and sustainable future? If so, the next section is for you to take very seriously and take responsibility for your life and our world. Now is your moment as an adult of your time to step up and make the difference you were born to make in this world. All right, so that's that section. Any comments? Any
Yes,
questions?
lots.
Okay.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Alex. You're on the board.
Yeah, I was having a look at that square you had up with all the different planets and the different years. And what interested me was Mars in particular, because we've got this ambition that we want to go to Mars and we want to live on Mars. And even if we could, and the seasons were adaptable on Mars, or we could create that environment on Mars, the yearly rotation would mean that our winters would be 3 months longer every year. Our each season would exist for 6 months. Does that mean we're able to produce more in the summer and survive longer in a winter? And then just look at the ages of people that would survive on Earth, on Mars. You would end up living to what, 53 instead of 100, as you would on I know it's like ridiculous. Okay.
No, it's not. It's fascinating. I've actually
It's
got
funny.
something here that's absolutely will fit exactly into that thing. So please remind me. Okay, Karen?
Yeah, I mean, but then I was thinking, you know what, even if you were able to live to what would be earthly 100 and a Marsly 152 or 53, based on what, 1.88, somewhere around there, the gravity on our bodies is what, double, 3 times the amount? So it would be three
No,
times.
it's less on Mars because Mars is actually a smaller planet than planet
Is it?
Earth.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so it's less. So our muscle structure would be weaker. Karen?
So we would be able to do more and possibly live longer because of the amount of pressure and work on our bodies.
I don't think your bone density will be as what it is here because we don't have the gravity which requires the bone density. We might become like sloths,
Absolutely. I mean, it's really interesting.
It's fascinating. It's just like it's mind blowing.
Well, you bring up some interesting points. I guess one would be, does Mars rotate on a tilt in relationship to the sun? Because that's what creates our seasons, right? Is our 23-degree tilt. So if it doesn't, then we have growing season every day of the year or every day of the 2 years.
Yeah. But then your position on the planet would matter a great deal. Correct.
Yep. So all the good land would get gobbled up by the investors and we'd all have to live on our fringes. So it's interesting because, this brings up the whole aspect of relativity and perspective and things like that. And, we're looking to apply our earthly human standards to life in a different place and wondering if we would have the same experience. And, like having a 2-year year versus a 1-year year, still the amount of time passes at the same rate, supposedly. Again, I don't have an answer to that either, because we're spinning twice as fast or half as fast. Does it mean that we're living slower or thinking slower? Or so I would imagine that chemical and physical processes go along at probably the same rate. Things would grow maybe differently because of their exposure to the elements or the forces that have them grow. And if that, I'm just kind of riffing off of what you said there, but there was another point, Dennis, I think that you had mentioned. I was going to ask you to repeat it, but it was segueing into something else. Let's see. It was about where consciousness can exist anywhere in the universe at any time. Was that roughly what you had said?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And there was a paragraph before that leading up to it that I was trying to follow when it went a little too quickly for me. But that was leading into what I'm talking about here, is just that relativity of place and time. And is it such, or is it irrelevant? from our perspective and our knowledge base, oh, that means something, but maybe out in the stillness of the universe where there is no time, I love that thought as well. Does relativity really play the game, or is it just in our universe, meaning our earthly universe, our context of Earth, let's say?
Yeah.
Is it just something that we can work out here, but in a whole different environment, it would play out very differently than it does here?
Well, so there's some fantastic ideas there. So the first one is as far as we know, the conscious universe is endless, infinite, timeless, and endless time. So the concept is, I have these. Now, I'm not the only person there. People all over who have near-death experiences and all sorts of things who connect with this consciousness, and it's not just like a collective human consciousness as Jung portrays. It's like this universal consciousness. And if you think of the formation of stars and planets and life, and this is not just an accident. It's like this conscious desire for life, the conscious desire for formation into reality. So, I mean, and then you look at consciousness of like ants and snails and slugs, and they all function as conscious beings in our reality. And it's like to think that we are the only consciousness when we have these literally daily experiences, well, I do, with connecting with altered states of consciousness, and my wife that has passed on, and connecting with other beings that have passed on and guiding me and teaching me and so on. It's, to me, it's not even a discussion point that we live in a conscious universe. Then the idea that, oh, we are humans, so we're special, so we're the only conscious beings, and we live on this planet, and let's go out there and look for consciousness on other planets that are identical to us or similar to us. What we are doing there is we're projecting our anthropological concept of what life is, all right, out there. But we know that, like, you go to these extremely acidic, like ponds, and extremely high temperatures, and living organisms live in those situations. So life is not just limited to sort of our temperature range and our pressure and our ideal planet and so on. Life as we think of it, yes, maybe. But I honestly, from my telepathic and whatever connection, believe 100% that consciousness can exist in the center of the sun, all right? Because that consciousness will have chosen to function as one with that environment and will become that environment. It's like, just like we have chosen this environment and we have become one with this environment and all of these particular peculiarities of this environment. So the other concept of consciousness, it can be timeless, is like when we focus in on our meditative states and connect to our aha moments and our dreams and so on, and other consciousnesses, we are able to connect without time and receive that information like across the universe. It's just like, bam, it's instantaneous knowingness of what it is that we need to know. And it's just like tuning in on a radio frequency to that, what we wish to know, what our intent is. So, and that is how you connect with your ancestors and so on, when you have focused, absolute alignment and intent, and you tune in. So to me, it's beyond question that we live in a conscious universe. So I hope that answers your question.
I'll take it.
Okay. Well, maybe I'm just a way out there dreamer, but that's the world I experience every day in my life.
No, I get it. And that's why we're having conversations, right? Is to share
Absolutely.
our perspectives and align or whatever and delve deeper. Sure.
Yeah.
I think you started that reply, I think, with as far as I know, and
Yes.
so I accept that as yeah, that's how we are. As far as we know up to this point, this is what we're able to put together, and I can accept that as what passes as knowledge. And I also get that there's a Wikipedia, let's call it a Unipedia of knowledge in the universe that is
Yeah,
also
the Acacia
accessible.
files or whatever.
Yeah.
It literally this always present knowledge and wisdom. All you need to do is to access it.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. It's absolutely amazing. And I say it as far as I know, but I should say from my experience. It's not just I know this. I've lived this. I've experienced it. This is my reality. Whether I belong in a nut house or not, that's debatable.
Okay,
So-
now we're getting into relativity again.
That's wonderful. So, any other comments? Any other ideas? Oh yes, I wanted to show you this, Alex. This website, they let you put in your. I'm going to share screen.
Oh,
So
wow.
this is it's fascinating, hey? So you enter your I entered my month of my birth and my day of birth and the year,
Should you
and
be
then it says,
putting that
okay, in
out there?
Mercury, you've only lived 387 days. You're as a Mercurian, you are 257 years, 0.9 years old. And your next birthday will be on Monday, January the 18th of 2021. It's like, and they go through all of the different planets, and it's just fascinating. Like, yeah, I would have lived, 31,521.8 Uranian days. And I would have not even completed 1 year, like 0.73 of a Uranian year.
Wow.
And my next birthday will be on December the 3rd, 2042. I mean, isn't that awesome?
Wow.
Can you imagine what life would be like if you were born on Uranus in 2020?
Yeah. Crazy, hey? Hopefully there wouldn't be any Trumps there and there no coronavirus. Yeah, no, it's fascinating.
You'll be in 2020 forever.
No! Go away, Trump! I'm only joking.
He's
anyway.
only part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, the coronavirus has lost him forever. Fascinating.
Anyway, back to this. It's an interesting grid, by the way. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I've just stopped sharing it, but yeah, I mean, there's so much amazing information that's available to us if we just start to actually do some research and start to expand our perception. It's like, where do I get these ideas that we won't survive on another planet and this, that, the other thing? I mean, we have these astronauts that go into space, and if there's not enough gravity, their muscles atrophy, first of all, their bones start to degenerate, and they've got to sustain everything that is essential on our planet. The food they've got to produce, the oxygen, the water, the nutrients, everything that is Mother Earth that sustained our lives, our ecosystems, our environment. They need that. And if they don't have that, they start to degenerate.
Mm-hmm.
It's that process of dying.
Well,
Mother Nature's...
Our bodies are an ecosystem of Mother Earth.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's like without the womb of Mother Nature, without everything in this perfect balance and harmony and everything working together, we don't exist. It's like the temp, like Alex, you do medical stuff and so on. Like the temperature of our body core temperature is like, there's different things in Fahrenheit and centigrade, but basically it's just like optimum temperature that our core is at. And if we go like 3 or 4, maybe 5 degrees up or down, we're dead. It's like, and our atmosphere maintains that, our body fat, our our movement, everything, like even our skin starts to shiver and whatever, to like keep up that body temperature, don't let all sweat like crazy, to like bring it down. It's like this, everything about us is this magical balance that's just like being maintained and sustained. And the moment you move away from your mother and out of those ideal optimum circumstances, you start to use it or lose it. You start to degenerate, you start to die. So all these people who are looking for a future in another place on another planet, it's like, dude, you're stupid. You really need to look after home. You need to look after your mother. So I think that was the fundamental idea behind me going through this extra bit of stuff. So now the next section, which is like, this is like, we've been through this incredible journey, okay? And we've been discovering like who we are. We are the water, we are the earth, we are, of Mother Nature, within Mother Nature. We are all of these things. And there's this natural wisdom of the universe. And what we have been focused on as a civilization is success and power and pyramid schemes. And we've learned all of this. And then we've learned this incredible fundamental natural wisdom of the nature of the universe itself, which is everything is movement, vibrations, energy, change, cause and effect, balance and harmony and flow. And we've learned all of this amazing wisdom. All right. And now, how do we apply that? Like, where do we take that next? So this chapter in the book is violet. All right. It's like the penultimate chapter. Today's topic is back to the garden. This is where we begin to put it all together and create the most important next steps. Ultimately, it's the transition from our unsustainable age of ignorance to a happy, healthy, and sustainable future, love-based age of reason, where we live together in love, balance, and harmony with one another and our natural world. Our conversations on Help Save Our World Speak online speakers meetings, which are based on my book, Beyond the Age of Ignorance, The Quest for the Truth. The quest has taken us on many awakening thought journeys and changes up to this stage. This is where we take what we have learned and transition towards our desired future, utopia, Shangri-La, the Garden of Eden, or a healthy Mother Earth, with its happy, healthy, and sustainable future that we all wish to create in our world, hopefully. Some people just give up, but this is our hope of a better future. The transition is to an awakened, conscious, enlightened age of truth, love, balance, and harmony, and natural wisdom, an age of reason beyond the age of ignorance, a natural age of truth, wisdom, kindness, love, and natural cleanliness, no pollution, no wars, non-violence, no negativity, no plunder or destruction, an age of caring and sharing, an age of oneness, balance, and movement in harmony with others, and the natural flow of energy and that natural flow of life, where we manifest a healthy, happy, and natural environment where all life thrives. I was just looking at these permaculture books again, and it reminds me of we are nature and nature thrives. I mean, it's been evolving for billions of years, and it all works together at this incredible, synchronicity, and in certain situations, in microclimates and climates and environments and soils and so on. And if we just align ourselves with what works in nature and become one with that, we will create absolute abundance around us. And of course, including the biodiversity into our lives. It's like, I think of the story about Mexico where all of the people that used to live on these farms and so on, they had all of these different species of animals and seeds and plants and this incredible variety of life. And of course, that provides health and sustainability. But then they end up being driven off the land and into the cities and buying from supermarkets where you get, like Golden Delicious and Granny Smith apples instead of all of the variety of apples that you could have. And all of those animals that humans sustained and all of those seeds and the ecosystems that they sustained for how many generations in the past are all like dying or dead or extinct and don't exist anymore. It's like, how do we recover and regenerate those living systems by becoming one in our transition with those ecosystems? So anybody, any ideas?
Yeah. I think we understand some of the forces that got it here, which are greed and power and monopoly and all the other stuff that plays along with it. Those of us that understand how we got here and how here is continuing to destroy the possibility of a diverse and natural future, have a unique challenge, because understanding it is not enough. It's how do we shift the tide, the flow of the already existing direction that the world has shifted to. And maybe that's not what we need to do. But I think we all see that there's something happening here that's not quite aligned with our understanding of how the progress of nature goes. I've met many other people that said, oh no, everything is perfect as it is and nature will take care of it. And we're not really talking about nature, and we're not really talking about the world, I think. Because I would say that we all agree that the world will take care of itself regardless of what humans do. I think that the world that you and I are talking about is not only the world of the earth, but it's the world of how civilization and specifically human civilization is impacting our experience of that world and the resources that are available to us. So then it becomes a psychological, a mental, a sociological shift that we have to make. And obviously that's why we're conducting these sessions, is to help us create that sociological, psychological, mental construct of where we want to be heading versus where we're kind of thrown to head. So I'm giving a long preamble to, so the challenge is, how can we get the forces of humanity, both or all of the ignorant, the knowledgeable, the powerful, the wealthy, and all that, to align with, if this is where you want to take it, go ahead, take it somewhere off planet. Allow us to rearrange our processes to be in a sustainable earth versus the unsustainable direction you're taking it as a set of resources. I know that was a long sentence there, but being aware is not enough, as we know. It's exactly. How can we put it into action? I get that creating these sessions and then having it as a legacy for people to look at, somehow getting a some marketing advertising, and I say that how about an expansion program that creates awareness about this is the next step. There are many other organizations and groups and people that are looking to accomplish the same thing, so connecting with them as well. But as we're seeing, and you can see it play out certainly in the United States in politics and everything else, how there's an absolute clash between directions. And, you know, we have people just denying that there is a problem, and other people fighting to say, no, but our perspective is correct.
Yeah, the disinformation.
So I don't know if I have a
concept.
culmination point on it. It's just that I see that that still is, and probably always will be, the challenge for us is how do we get people to take a look at something that they're not habituated to and say, oh, yeah, I can see that that's better, and I choose to change.
Yeah, that's awesome stuff. It really is either we change or we don't exist. I mean, the Earth will keep on spinning. It will keep on being the third planet from the sun for quite a long time to come, unless something knocks it out of orbit, you know. But life, as you can see in the fossil record, it like tends to flourish, and then it becomes extinct, and then there's just soil, and then there's like growth and the expansion of life, and then the fossil record, and then nothing. So it has happened through natural ice ages and all that sort of thing. But it's just inconceivable that we are intelligent, conscious, and we now have the wisdom, because, like, I mean, I've just put it together. I mean, everyone knows this stuff fundamentally, like as the essence of their being, that there's something wrong with everything, but they don't really know what it is. So this puts it all together. It says, okay, well, this is what it is. And if we could just get that into everyone's education system, into books, into videos, and market it and expand like crazy, and eventually have it being like what is taught in churches and schools and education systems around the world, eventually that will just transform the way of thinking in the world, and it'll hit like a critical mass of about 80% or so. And then most of the people of the world will follow. You'll always have those people on the outer extreme who will like, well, I won't accept because I don't like change or whatever. But that's our next challenge, is to transition ourselves and to learn all of our lessons of our transition, and at the same time create this information explosion, creating the books and the videos and it just everything, and getting it out. This is like being like a very constructive journey in clarifying thought and ideas and seeing it from other people's perspectives and everything. So this is useful, and it must go on developing in its, you know, from basically what we've done is we've literally covered the basics, you know. It's like we've been looking at the fundamental foundations of existence and life. But those thoughts can be like exponentially blown out there, but based on truth. So, but we need to develop those systems and create the education program, and create the I've just given you a synopsis of what I've been working on. So
sure, and I was just kind of repeating it, but in my own. Let me bring all the other factors and circumstances we need to deal with. Yeah. You know, as you're talking there, Dennis, and for the past, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes or so, the phrase "help save our world" kept on popping back at me. And as I made my comment a few minutes ago, I was talking about the world, right? Mm-hmm. As opposed to our world. And somewhere in there, I did create an our, meaning those of us that are believing in sustainability and nurturing and plenty and abundance and diversity and everything else. And maybe that's it right there, is that just in this phrase, and you can certainly speak back to it if it's not the case. But when we use the word our, we're automatically creating a limitation. I get that when our, you're talking about all of humankind. But when we use our, when we use our, we're also creating a subset of all that is. It's ours, not yours or theirs. And I get that that's the come from. Again, not labeling this, because I get your distinction of our, but that's the come from that so many human beings live in. Is this is my environment, this is my society, this is my belief system, this is my church, this is my political stance. And when they have a couple of people that they connect with, it then becomes our. And those are the forces that I think we ultimately are competing against, is the ourness of human existence. I get the many psychological reasons why that happens, and I get the many propagandist and manipulative techniques that people do to create ourness. And I'm kind of playing with this, and the ourness of help save the world as we know it, or as we see it, or as that we project it, or as we envision it, is different from help save the world that will keep me comfortable, or keep me powerful, or feed some of the other human attributes and characteristics that you and I, Dennis and I, and those on this call may not agree with. So I'm quibbling with the word our, because we don't own it, first of all, right? we
Okay.
own the belief system that supports it the way we would like it to be. So I can go more just vamping on it, but that came up to me. So the concept of ourness, if you want to speak back to that.
So yeah, I would like to speak to that. It's an incredibly important concept. Language, semantics, all of these things are like really, really like, it's like in my actual book, I write like this huge section on the use of language.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the reason why we chose our is because, to all life on this planet, it is our world that our mother nature, that it is the mother and the oneness of life that exists in this reality. Now, the moment we say that, we've objectified and we've separated ourselves from it being our and our responsibility, our
problem,
our love, our relationships, our connection, all of that.
Ourselves.
So ourselves, our existence, everything. So it's not the ideal word. I mean, if there were another way of briefly, succinctly saying that, we are the earth and the earth is us. We are just an aspect of Mother Nature in this planet, and we have a responsibility to it. And if there was another brief way of saying it other than trying to like saying our, sort of giving it like this personal connection, then I would have said it, but if you can come up with a better word than that, which objectifies and separates anyway, our can create this concept of ownership and segregation and so on. And I accept that that's a possibility. But ultimately, we're dealing with human language, which has this incredible amount of limitations and perceptions, and just about everything we say. If you don't have the totality of my life's experience, you basically get some idea, but you're not really sure. You get a feeling that maybe I'm a good guy and I'm trying to make a difference. It's a feeling. You really have no idea of what goes on in my totality of my understanding and perception of reality. So, and then words even make it that much worse. I mean, you could never totally understand from the simple words and phrases that I use, you can get a general idea, but that's it, you know. So I'm not making excuses. If there's a better word, let's come up with it. But there is also another thing to the HSOW. It's help sow. And SOW is to sow the seeds. It is to sow the seeds of thought, the ideas in the hearts and minds of people. So there is more to it than just our.
If I can, I thought I had qualified my my ramble on hour by saying I get the hour that you're speaking to, which is the all-inclusive hour,
Exactly.
and the was making a distinction between, again, the separate and the hour. What I was looking to do was to create the subset of hour, which is some of the circumstances that us have to overcome in order to get the greater hour, with the capital O, mentality instilled in others. So I think that I'm not discussing at all your use of hour in Help Save Our World. I was discussing the understanding or the distinction or definition of that hour to the others that are not quite on board with where we're heading with this group, if that makes sense to you. So it's like the capital Atman and then the small Atman, or the greater form and then the lesser forms. So and those are the hours that I was talking about, are the many subsets, the many branches off, which people feel that they're entitled to have and to hold. You can call them tribes, you can call them groups, you can call them political movements or social movements or whatever. The hippies were one of those hours back in the 60s and 70s. The Patriot Boys are part of one of those hours that exists right now in front of us. And so that's a distinction I was making, that those are the smaller hours that people are playing in, not quite connected yet to the grander hour, which is all inclusive. And as you and I see it, much more sustainable and much more workable than the selfish little hours that the smaller groups play in.
Yeah, we've been actually indoctrinated into segregation, and it's us and them, and our sort of we are above and separate from nature, and all of these just destructive ways of thinking. And your thing, you said to me, what is your idea of natural wisdom? How do you see natural wisdom? And I'm like, oh, of course, everyone must understand that it's like it is this, and it's like, yeah, Dennis, that's your perception based on your totality and whatever. It's not what everyone thinks. And so this whole system balances on us literally informing and educating and creating the distinctions on all of these concepts. If we're not clear and succinct and whatever, if we don't create this incredibly clear philosophy that people can read, they can study, they can understand, and it doesn't become the culture of the world, then we've done nothing. We've wasted our time. So it really is.
I won't accept that from you, but okay, I know where you're going. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that we're wasting our time, or what are we doing here on the planet? That's another relativity and perspective concept. And you and I and Alex and Brendan are doing this because we believe this is the way to put our beliefs, our commitments, our understandings into action and manifest them in whatever way we can while we're here, right?
Exactly.
So it's not that it doesn't mean anything if we haven't shifted the whole world and we have, kumbaya, with everybody on the planet. I think it does mean that the time that we spent here is fruitful and purposeful based on what our beliefs and our desires and our commitments are. So I heard you, and I know what you're saying. It's if we don't do it, we've lost, right?
Exactly.
So if we do it and it doesn't get where we want to go, at least we made our difference, our drop in the pond to create the ripples that we can do when we are here.
Yeah, I think this has been an absolutely incredible journey. Alex, you want to talk?
Huh?
No, not really. I think absolutely. I think we, you know, until we actually voice it, until we actually put it out there into the universe, it is just a thought. Until we say what we need, we do not receive what we need. If we do not, and this is expanding not just us as human beings, anyone who might fall upon these videos, anyone who may hear or listen, or even just get a sneak peek behind the curtain of our current realities that we live on a day-to-day basis, help them grow to the next step. I believe, we've like started that question, is basically we're sowing the seed. We're sowing the seed of thought, and we're actually physically sowing the seed. We're putting it in the ground. We're putting it, we're growing it, we're giving it the love, the nurturing, the environment to grow. These videos, we're putting them on the web, we're giving them the environment to grow. We're putting the thoughts into the people's and the minds of the world so they can grow. That is our next step, is to sow the seed, to give the nurturing environment for all of these seeds that we're planting. Every stage that we plant them, and every growth period we go through from this stage forward, we just nurture and we grow.
I love that. I love that. That's absolutely like, it's brilliant. It's like, all right, so we've created these videos. So now we create these books, which is like a pocket book, like the People's Handbook, and then the Beyond the Age of Ignorance. I still haven't. I tried to publish that many years ago as a very simple book, but now I have to rewrite that and create a better book, which shows people this journey and maybe comes from all of our discussions here. Basically, if you think about it, this is what happens it happened in religions. They first of all, they decided what religion they were going to have, what the basic ideas were. They put them together, they wrote stories, and they created a book. Now the book becomes the institution, the first institution, because now the book has longevity and can now be passed on to many people and many generations into the future. So the books and the videos and the audio and everything, those are our beginning institutions. And then ideally the truth will be to be taught in, we have an education system. So we'll teach in schools this whole natural way of life and perspective and way of thinking and so on. And that then grows the institutionalized concept of education through schooling. And then, of course, the philosophy book becomes the new Bible or the new religion of how to think and how to live in this world for a better world. So it's having the vision, having the values and beliefs, having the mission of what we want to achieve and why we want to achieve it, like structuring all those wonderful things together to create this process that naturally, whether we like it or not, will lead to our expected future. It's like, I think this injury actually helped me with that. It's like, I was going to like, okay, let's transition to the farm, go and live on this farm and help my friend put up fences and so on. And I'm like, then of course I had this incredible sort of injury, and it's like saying to me, no, Dennis, that's not your next step. Your next step is to now put this all together to create the institutionalization of thought and therefore the future that the world needs. digging ditches and putting poles in the ground is not going to further this movement in any great speed or whatever. Yes, you will transition yourself, but it's not about you. It's about everyone else. It's about our world. It's about future of humanity and life on the planet. So when things happen to you that you think are terrible, they're actually often great gifts. So I think we've come to the end of our time. Anyone final statements?
Well, I think you just kind of summed it up, is that we get to be present to our own reality, despite or including the circumstances that arise, and still not giving up our goal. So whether it's as a group or as you as an individual, with your health or, whatever our circumstances are, we still get to continue to go towards our mission in whatever resources we now have.
Absolutely. And if one of us loses their way or loses their life or whatever, it's up to everyone else to carry on with it. It's like, let's make this be the most meaningful thing that we could ever do, and create that future because of it. So yeah. Alex?
There was,
sorry.
I just want to finish with that because you just stimulated it. There was some trainings I did many years ago, and one of the components was a large team exercise that lasted about 100 days. And one of the commitments on the team was, if it's to be, it's up to me, which means if the entire group suddenly disappeared, are you giving up on the project? Are you going to take it on as the last standing person that can have this commitment turn out? And yeah, when we get to that point, like, I'm fully responsible for everything, that's my perspective. Then imagine a team that doesn't have anybody fall out, but everybody being full out committed to having it work out. And when we can get to that mentality and get enough people, then the world changes. As you know, critical mass is about that. So yep, keep spreading the word.
Absolutely. And I think that's a good way to end the meeting.
That's genius.
I think that's a brilliant statement, actually.
Yeah. So, all right. So
it wasn't mine, but I'm just sharing it. Thank you.
We are going to end the recording. So I'm just going to say pause, stop recording.